Welcome to the Vibe of Muscle Shoals Sound, inaugural podcast, recorded at Muscle Shoals Sound at 3614 Jackson Highway in beautiful Sheffield, Alabama. I'm Terrell Benton, along with Nina Jackson, and in the coming months, we'll bring you a series of podcasts discussing the history and music of Muscle Shoals Sound. April 1st, 1969 was the first day that the then Muscle Shoals Rhythm section moved into this little converted casket showroom and started the legacy of Muscle Shoals Sound. For this inaugural podcast, we're going to look back at the history of the first recording at 3614. Cher's album, named after the address of the studio, 3614 Jackson Highway. Sherilyn Sarkeesian met Salvatore Bono in Los Angeles at a coffee shop in 1962. She was 16. By 1968, Sonny and Cher had peaked with I Got You, Babe, and The Beat Goes On. They were on the downside of their recording success. A failed film, 1967's Good Times, had added to the duo's decline. Between 1965 and 1968, they'd experienced massive success. The psychedelic era had entered the music world, and Sonny and Cher had no place to go. Their Imperial record contract had ended, and Ahmet Ertegun, the head of Atlantic and Atco Records, signed Cher as a solo artist. He thought it was time for her to set out on her own and build her own credibility. Ertegun thought the perfect plan was to take Cher to the newly opened Muscle Shoals Sound in tiny Sheffield, Alabama, to work with the four musicians formerly known as the Muscle Shoals Rhythm section, as well as with the triumvirate of Atlantic icons, Arif Mardin, Jerry Wexler, and engineer Tom Dowd. The production team behind some of Atlantic's biggest hits for Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, and Dusty Springfield. Sonny later wrote in his autobiography, The Beat Goes On, that Ertegun believed in Sonny and Cher, but Jerry Wexler did not. He wanted a Cher record without Sonny's involvement, even down to the production. Wexler, in his biography, The Rhythm and the Blues, written by David Ritz, said, I went down to produce the record. I loved Cher's voice and was excited by the project. But in case of a tie, I told Sonny before the session began, a little worried that he would think he was the boss, I win. Wexler picked the songs, 3 by Bob Dylan, an Aretha cover, and a Stephen Stills cover. But as fate would have it, Wexler came down with pneumonia and never did make it to the control room. Tom Dowd and Arif Mardin took over the production. Sonny later stated, not only did I lose my role as producer, my credibility went out the window too. The Muscle Shoals Rhythm section had produced some of the greatest songs ever recorded while at Fame Studio in Muscle Shoals, but a contract dispute with Fame founder Rick Hall had sent the rhythm section to Jerry Wexler and an idea of opening their own studio in nearby Sheffield. The new studio would be located at 3614 Jackson Highway in a building that was built in 1947. The small room at 3614 was an unlikely spot for a record like this to be recorded. Sonny and Cher had always worked in Los Angeles, and here they were staying in a Holiday Inn in nearby Florence and cutting the first record in this new venture called Muscle Shoals Sound. Guitarist Jimmy Johnson, bassist David Hood, drummer Roger Harkins, and keyboardist Barry Beckett were up to the task of the move and gave the Atlantic Records team the southern pop blues feel they wanted for the record. Cher got 11 songs down that eventually made the record. As stated previously, most of them were covers of current soul and rock tunes, including 3 from the recently released Bob Dylan album Nashville Skyline, Lay Lady Lay, I Threw It All Away, and Tonight I'll Be Staying Here With You. Other tunes on the record included Stephen Stills' anthematic Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth, and the Box Tops' Cry Like a Baby, written by Muscle Shoals' own Spooner Oldham and Dan Penn. As I stated, Wexler came down with pneumonia. Tom Dowd, as well as Arif Mardin, had taken over. Just because I'm a history nerd, I went in search of the day-to-day work on 3614 Jackson Highway, and it looked like this according to the records at Atlantic Records. The first song cut was on April 21st, 1969, the great Eddie Hinton tune, Save the Children. I think it's highly appropriate that Eddie's tune was the first. Eddie was brilliant and troubled, but he was an amazing writer, player, and vocalist. Go out and find his amazing solo record, Very Extremely Dangerous, recorded here at Muscle Shoals Sound. More on Eddie will come up in future podcasts. Later that day, on the 21st, was Cher's cover of Dylan's I Threw It All Away, complete with horns and backing vocals. Tuesday, the 22nd, saw work starting on another Dylan cover, Tonight I'll Be Staying Here With You. On the 23rd, work began in earnest as 4 tracks were put down. The Dan Penn classic Do Right Woman, Do Right Man, with lead vocals and basic tracks completed. The Buffalo Springfield Stephen Stills tune, For What It's Worth, was followed next by Just Enough to Keep Me Hanging On, written by Buddy Mize and Ira Allen. Allen later wrote the Memphis classic I Can't Stand the Rain for Ann Peebles. Later on this day, an unreleased cover of Laura Nero's Wedding Bells Blues was tracked. Of course, this was later a monster hit for the Fifth Dimension. Thursday, the 27th, work began on the Otis Redding and Steve Cropper classic Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, and the Mac Ribbenack, or Dr. John Penn song I Walked on Gilded Splinters. Friday the 26th, and the final day of the first part of the work, saw the recording of a now lost track, a cover of the Eddie Hinton, Dan Penn, and Wayne Jackson song, Always David. From April 26th until April 29th, Sonny and Cher went back to Los Angeles to visit their 7-week-old daughter, Chastity. They returned to Muscle Shoals on the 30th, and work on the 3614 Jackson Highway album commenced with Spooner Oldham and Dan Penn's hit for the Box Tops, Cry Like a Baby, along with another lost track, the only Sonny and Cher duet, a tune called Honey Lamb. Sonny and Cher then flew to London to appear on the ABC show This Is Tom Jones. While in London, Sonny was interviewed by New Musical Express and made no mention of the Muscle Shoals sessions. But from London, they flew back to New York and appeared on the ABC late-night talk show, The Joey Bishop Show. Then back to Muscle Shoals on Wednesday, May 14th, to cut a play on Bob Dylan's Lay Lady Lay, retitled Lay Baby Lay. This wrapped up the session for the 3614 Jackson Highway album. Atlantic Records had very high expectations for the 3614 Jackson Highway album, and the promotion and sales departments put together their plans in Miami in late May of '69. The decision was made to release the record in stereo as well as an alternative stereo version, as well as mono, cassette, 8-track, and even reel-to-reel. To promote the record to radio and retail, Atlantic shipped a promo vinyl EP. The EP included Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, Just Enough to Keep Me Hanging On, For What It's Worth, and Please Don't Tell, which was written by Carol Quillen and Grady Smith. The now famous cover photo of 3614 Jackson Highway, taken by Stephen Paley. By the way, check out his other works, including album covers for the Allman Brothers Band, Aretha Franklin, Jay Giles, Cream, and Sly and the Family Stone, among others. For the studio, the cover photo was the gateway for people to know about the new studio. But many have said the entire album package may have had an adverse effect on sales of the record. The only color photo of Cher was on the inside, and Atlantic made the strange decision to not list the song titles on the outside of the cover. While the cover may have had an effect on sales, the photo gave the little studio in Sheffield a face for the world to see. The cast of characters on the cover included Jerry Wexler, Cher, dressed in what she called hippie Native American clothing, Sonny in an Alabama football t-shirt with Bear Bryant walking on the water with the slogan, I Believe, written on it. Arif Martin actually had the same Alabama shirt on under his jacket. The others in the photo included, of course, the rhythm section, David Hood, Jimmy Johnson, Barry Beckett, and Roger Hawkins, along with vocalist Donna Jean Thatcher, Jeannie Green, and the great Eddie Hinton, along with Tom Dowd. Missing from the cover were vocalist Mary Holiday and Sue Pilkington. Sonny is credited for being the spiritual advisor and hopes all the listeners think that the record is groovy. The record is released on June 20th, 1969. Critics had positive reviews, but it was not to be a sales dynamo, peaking at number 160 on the Billboard charts and disappearing from record shelves. But on June 7th, this year, 2019, you'll be able to own 3614 Jackson Highway on vinyl once again, thanks to the folks at Run Out Groove Vinyl. It's the first release on vinyl in the U.S. since 1969. There will be a bonus LP that features some of the tracks from her untitled 1970 Atco album, and those tracks are in mono, and they're making their debut on vinyl. So rush to your local independent record store or come visit us at Muscle Shoals Sound and pick up your copy of this truly vital record. And speaking of vital, come visit us here at the studio and feel the vibe of this special little building. We're an active studio, but you can visit our website at muscleshoalssoundstudio.org and see our daily tour schedule as well as merchandise that's available. Come see us. Myself, Debbie, Anna, Mallory, Chase, and Tony. Tours begin at 10:30, but check out the website for more details. We'll be back next month with another story about the vibe of the Muscle Shoals Sound Studios.